Hey y'all, Jamie here. Proud 55-year-old trans woman from New Orleans. So, where last I left off, I had gotten really sick after I made the last video. That's why no one has seen me for a month. And I was sick in the bed for 3 weeks. Couldn't get out of it. Just ill. And I don't want to, I don't want to be graphic, but it was just not pretty. So, I am back. And this week I started getting my strength back. And I hope some of you are still around to hear what happens next. Anyway, so where last I left off, I had talked to my best friend Terry's mom in Houston, and she said that Terry had slipped into a coma while she was at work. And so when she came home, she obviously got her to the hospital immediately. They put her in the ICU. So I had to make the money to do this, right? I didn't have the money right then to just up and take off to Houston, right? So I went out and I was really upset. The next night I'd gone out and I was really, really upset. And I met someone, and his name was Mickey. And he met me at the bar at the Roundup, and he started buying me drinks. And then he bought me drinks all night long and listened to me go on and on about Terry and being upset, and everything. And he ended up asking me if he could take me on a real date, one night. So I said, okay. Look, I know my best friend was in the hospital and I'm trying to get over to Houston to see her and everything. But it's like, that life was so wild. That scene is so wild, that to make the money, you've got to party. That's just the way it worked. To make the money, I had to party. So I told Mickey yes. I said yes to the date. But the thing was, I wasn't sure if Mickey was a client or if he was supposed to be what we call trade. Okay? And which would mean a freebie. And I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. So the next night, he shows up to pick me up to take me out. And as soon as he picked me up when I was sober, I realized, this isn't a client. This guy is trying to date me. And listen, he was handsome, Italian, short, but I like short guys. And he was 27, and I had just hit my 20th birthday while Terry was sick. Didn't even celebrate it because Terry was sick. But I had just turned 20. And so yeah, we went out to dinner and we instantly became a couple. Yeah, instantly became a couple. And so yeah, Mickey and I started seeing each other, and he's trying to help me figure out how to get to Houston too. And we'd only been together a couple of days, but I decided, because I was being told that Terry was in ICU and that it wasn't looking good. And Terry and I used to talk about, because a lot of people died of AIDS and, drugs and murder and everything, in that world. And so we had seen a lot of people die, and we had heard of a lot of people dying. And she used to always tell me the one thing that scared her about death was that after a little while, it's like you never existed at all. People forget about you. They move on with life. And, they mean well, but you get forgotten. So I tried to think of what could I do before I went to Houston to celebrate her and to make sure that I could grant the wish of people never forgetting about her. So I took a portrait of her, a beautiful portrait that I have hanging on my wall to this day. And I took it to a tattoo parlor. And I asked the tattoo artist if she could do the portrait on the back of my shoulder. And so she did. She got an artist from Jackson Square to do the sketch from the photograph to make the stencil. And then she did all of the heavy outline work. And the artist from Jackson Square actually came in, and she gave him a free tattoo because she thought that my cause, with Terry being ill and everything, she was really behind me on this. And so she gave him a free tattoo for doing the shading on mine. Okay. So then my friend Deanna, there's a girl named Deanna in New Orleans, a Mexican girl named Deanna, and we were friends. And Deanna had a sugar daddy. And the sugar daddy offered to take Deanna to Houston because Deanna had started in Houston like me, and her family was in Texas, right? So she asked the sugar daddy if they could take me. And he said yes. So I pile in the car with Deanna and her sugar daddy, and I leave Mickey in New Orleans at my place with my sister, and I took off to Houston. And we drove there. And then the next morning, after we had gotten there and checked in and everything, the next morning I go to the hospital. And when I walked into the ICU, there was Terry. They had shaved her head. They had tubes running out of her head and all over her and in her nose and down her throat and everything. And she opened her eyes. Deanna held her hand, and she opened her eyes. And I started crying, and I said, Terry, I said, listen, I want you to know, no matter what happens right now, as long as I'm alive, people are going to know you're here. They're going to know you were here. And I showed her the tattoo on my back. And tears started running down her face. And Deanna and I both lost it in the ICU. And if y'all want to know what happens next, y'all know the routine. Be here tomorrow, and I will too. And now that I'm not sick, I will be here, I promise. Okay? Thank you all. Thank you all for watching. I love you for the comments, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.